Welcome to Luscious Living, the podcast where personal growth meets wellness. Here, we talk about growth that feels nourishing, wellness that feels realistic, and habits that help you evolve without burning out. I'm so glad you're here. Let's grow together. Welcome. We are embracing this new year with ease, luxury, softness, alignment. Whatever words resonate with you in this moment, I want you to know that this whole January does not have to be a complete overhaul. You might have already listened to my episode all about resolutions and how I really feel about them. But really, this episode is to be an arrival in December and have a sense of accomplishment, have a sense of being proud of yourself and really satisfied with what you've created, the lessons you've learned, the woman that you've become. And this evolution does not have to be loud. It can actually be quiet. It can be intentional. It can be built at your own pace and built from who you already are. So this episode holds two truths. You are enough right now, and you are allowed to want more for yourself. It is in our very nature to want more, to evolve. And my mentor would always say, if you're not growing, you're dying, right? And so this growth does not have to be this, again, complete life overhaul. And something I see often, and let's say with exercise, is if we're going from working out maybe 0 times to 1 time a week, and all of a sudden we get excited. Yes, I'm going to work out 5 days a week. I'm going to meal prep all my food. And I don't think that we have been taught how to set goals properly. And I always say to make them realistic versus idealistic. Back when I did not exercise at all, and I knew I needed to and knew I wanted to, I would start off with a 10-minute walk. Years ago, and again, I did not grow up playing sports. I was the person I would skip gym class. I did not like exercise, but I knew that this is something I wanted for myself. And again, 10 minutes outside of a walk. And it doesn't even have to be outside. Let's say you're starting off now and you're like, oh, I know my doctor told me, or I know I should be walking for 20 minutes. I don't even want you to take the 20 minutes. If you are at 0 right now, I want you to look at, can you do 2 minutes of a walk? And I know it might seem silly, but you maybe step on and you do 2 minutes and you jump off. Let's say you're on a treadmill and you do 2 minutes and you're like, I can do 5 minutes. I can do that. And then you jump off. That's what I want the theme to be, is that softness and that growth coexisting. Because yes, there are times where there's seasons where we're pushing hard. I actually feel myself in that season right now. And then there's some times where growth does not have to be aggressive to be real. So that can still mean you rest and move forward, you accept who you are and still evolve. And so I'm going to come from a place of curiosity, of luxury, and really going from desire instead of dissatisfaction or criticism again. And so I will have a number of ideas to share with you, as well as some exercises, some action steps. Okay. And so the very first part of this is really gently meeting your future self. Instead of looking at what can I change, again, typical ones, lose weight, save more money. Those are honestly the most common ones. But I want you to think about, how do I want to feel at the end of this year, or if this year feels too long ahead, into the end of the month, end of the day, end of the week, into spring? What kind of energy do you want to bring into the room? And what do you want to trust yourself with more? So some questions to ask yourself are, who do I want to become? And I'm continually asking myself this, and I've been doing this for years, and that has quite literally transformed me from the inside out. And it hasn't been this crazy 90-day plan, but when you start to think about who you want to become and who you are becoming, you think about your hair, your ears, but the earrings on your ears, your socks, your scent, your skills, the skills. Again, I want to just say, whether it's learning languages, it's reading the classics, it's reading your favorite childhood books. It does not have to meet any sort of external standard, but really looking at what would make yourself 10-year-old self proud and what would make your 80-year-old self proud, right? And something that this is a bit of a sidebar here, but something I hear often is, I'm not where I thought I would be. Well, define, where do you want to be at the end of this year, at the end of this age that you are? And with that, I invite you for the action step is to write down who you want to become. I personally go on Pinterest and have an ongoing rebrand board, things I love. And I want you to upgrade one identity level detail. And I want you to think about, this could be a new scent that defines this era, a refined daily ritual. Maybe you go into a specialty tea store, pick out your favorite flavor for an evening or a morning ritual. Maybe you have a new journal that you really love journaling in. Maybe it's an upgraded skincare product to really match your needs. It could be a jewelry piece that you wear as an anchor of who you are, a new boundary that protects your energy, and really understanding where the intention of saying yes is and going further. Maybe it's just having fresh towels or sheets or the shower curtain as well, right? So it's those small intentional upgrades that will compound powerfully, and you'll look back and you're like, I am a different person, and not in a bad way. It's great to be a different person, a more skilled person, a more kind person, a more refined, cultured, higher perspective, more perspective person. And so perhaps you're not in the mood for resolutions, but it's looking at direction. Okay. And that is my second part to this, choosing direction over pressure. So it could be that you're moving towards confidence. You're moving towards reading a certain amount of books. You're moving towards being someone who speaks multiple languages, whatever it is. And I want you to think of that as a compass, because we all know, if you're at the age of listening to this, you know that life does not go according to plan, but it does go according to direction. Okay. And so my action step for you is to have a date with yourself and reset and really think about your compass. I want you to get dressed, put on some scent if you like that, and start to look at, maybe you go to a museum alone, a candlelit dinner alone, a ballet, opera, a cinema like a show that's old or new. Maybe it's walking through a beautiful neighborhood with a coffee or a matcha. And I want you to really think about, what is your direction this year? And there might be some milestones. Maybe it's getting married. Maybe it's finishing school. Maybe it's getting a promotion, but really on the inside as well. What is the inner compass that you have? And so when we think about this, it can get overwhelming sometimes we go into overhaul mode. And I want you to just look at, what is one habit my future self would thank me for? Okay, and so some examples, these are not instructions. This could be drinking water before scrolling. Scrolling on the couch replaced with scrolling on a walking pad. Okay, so we're not taking away these drastic measures. Again, I just see this often is, okay, we're not ordering takeout anymore, or I'm not going to be on my phone. Well, what if it was actually both? What if you could do both? What if it's still scrolling, because we're probably going to do that anyway? Why don't you do it when you're moving, right? Or watching your show for a walking pad, 20 minutes. Going to bed 10 to 20 minutes earlier and reading a book. Speaking to yourself with more patience instead of irritation, right? I went to a wedding a few years ago, and the bride was talking about, I can't remember what she was talking about. She said, but that's okay. She says, that's okay. And then her name. And it was so light. It's like, so many times I know I can be hard on myself as well. It's like, oh, why did you not think of this? You weren't prepared for this, and you were prepared for everything else, etc. It's like, that's okay. That's okay. Right? And so I want you to really have this vision of yourself evolve too. the end of this year, while we have our compass, it does not have to be clearly defined yet, because you are allowed to change your mind. You are allowed to outgrow your goals, take pauses, because evolution is not rigid, right? And so a gentle promise to yourself is that you don't have to rush into becoming, but I do want you to take this and have it where you can see it every day. You can embody this every single day. And I'm telling you, those days where I am exhausted, I don't want to get out of bed, I don't want to do my workout, I think about who I'm becoming, and that pulls me forward. It really pulls me forward. And I think about the version of myself that shows up, even if she's tired, even if she's sad, even if she's irritated. And no matter how I feel, I take out how I feel out of the equation, and it gets me into that next step. And then evolution is this chronic, dance that you're on versus an end of the year thing or start of the year thing. And then you trust yourself to evolve. I trust that this episode was nourishing for you and perhaps a different way to think about the new year in a soft, luxurious, romantic way. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you for the next episode. If this conversation added value to your world, I'd love to receive a 5-star review from you. It really helps to reach the right ears. For deeper dives and curated resources, be sure to check out the links below. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll meet you back here next time.